Kevin Durant looks so good after his Achilles tear. I mean, if you didn't know about the injury, you'd think it didn't happen. Anytime that KD is playing at 90%, he should be in championship discussions. The problem, the team around him. I've actually said on this channel, the Nets are going to win a lot of regular season games. Kyrie Irving's an all-star. The team is deep with Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Joe Harris. But in the playoffs, one thing will prevent Kevin Durant from getting that third chip. This video explains what that is, plus the one stat that proves it. Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops. Hit subscribe and notification bells for 5 videos per week. Monday through Friday, always dropping at 9 a.m. Eastern. Plus, when we have breaking news, it's a double upload. That is all worth a subscribe. Also, go check out the AM Hoops podcast wherever you like to listen. So, we have all been waiting to see what KD and Kyrie are going to look like on the court. What we're going to see, a top 3 offense, but a bottom 10 defense. I don't see Kevin Durant raising that Finals MVP trophy unless they do something to upgrade on D. I'm not saying that defense wins championships, but it is a requirement. So let's hit up the fact that makes you go, In the last 21 years, no champion has had a bottom 10 defense besides the 2001 Lakers. It's regular season Shaq for you. I mean, that team proved you can flip a switch, because they had the number 1 defense in the postseason, going 15-1 and winning the title. That's not KD's Brooklyn Nets. First, let's look at last year. Okay, they had the 10th best defense in the league, but that's actually a misleading stat. They played mostly without Kyrie last season, so now he and KD will take up a ton of minutes, which changes their defense. Plus, what good is regular season defense when you get blitzed in the playoffs? The Raptors averaged 126 points in a sweep. They scored 150 in the closeout game. So don't tell me about a top 10 defense. That stat is lying to us. Now, I will admit, Steve Nash is saying all the right things. Quote, "We realize that we're trying to compete for a championship and we have to be excellent defensively. It's going to be a process." Again, a great quote, but that tells me that Steve Nash can see this coming. The fact is, effort and focus doesn't overcome talent. The Nets just don't have enough good defensive players. Their closing lineup is probably Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. I would rank their defense below average, below average, below average, average maybe after injury, and overrated. DeAndre Jordan used to be all defense. Now he's 32 years old and can't keep up with guards in the pick and roll like Kemba Walker or Drew Holiday in the East. The elephant in the room here, of course, is how the Nets looked in their opener against the Golden State Warriors. They were so good on both ends. They held the Dubs to just 37% from the field and 30% from downtown. Actually, that was basically the same awful Warriors team from last year. Golden State played Kelly Oubre Jr., who missed most of training camp with COVID. James Wiseman played his very first NBA game. Instead, I think a lot of Brooklyn's games are going to look like that first Wizards preseason game. 119 to 114, baby. An unstoppable offense that can only be beat by somehow outscoring them. The only hope KD has of winning another chip is with a trade. No trade, no chip. I mean, Milwaukee Bucks fans better hope this doesn't happen, because if it does, the Nets will win the East. But if the Nets don't fix their defense with a trade, KD can forget about a third ring this season, or maybe ever. Some people are comparing this team to the Clippers, saying it's okay if they don't win in year 1. Oh, really? I don't think this team can stay together for very long if they don't win in year 1. The locker room is like a beautiful mansion, soaked in gasoline, ready to blow up. The Nets will be ripped apart if losses pile up or they get bounced in the playoffs early. Look at every team Kyrie Irving has been on. He lasted just 2 seasons in Boston. He went for 3 with LeBron in Cleveland, and they made the finals every year and won a chip. The Nets should be in almost panic win now mode because there's no telling how many more chances KD has to win a ring. I mean, he is 32 years old, coming off an Achilles tear. If the Nets blow up this team because of locker room issues, it'll take him a few more years to find a new team, and by then it might be too late. It is literally championship or bust for the Nets and Kevin Durant. I really want KD to win at least 1 or 2 more rings to justify his talent. I mean, no one argues he is a top 10 talent, but he cannot be a top 10 player of all time with just 2 chips. KD's legacy is on the line here, so fixing their defensive issues should be the Nets' #1 priority. So these are the 2 defensive upgrades they should target. Number 2 is Eric Bledsoe for Landry Shamet and Taurean Prince to make the money work. Now you might think this is crazy, and it probably is, but the Nets give up Shamet for Bledsoe because they don't need more offense. Look, Shamet is a luxury at this point. While he's younger and more valuable, Bledsoe is a necessity. Obviously, the Pels do this to get a great young shooter to add to their young core. Zion needs as much shooting as possible around him. Bledsoe failed for Milwaukee in the playoffs, but in a 6th man type role for Brooklyn, he'd be a defensive upgrade. But just above him is Victor Oladipo for Karis LeVert and Reggie Perry. KD and Kyrie reportedly see LeVert as key to their core, but they are dead wrong. He might be a good fit and younger than Oladipo, but Vic is a former All-NBA defensive guard. If he looks like himself when the season starts, they would be foolish not to trade LeVert, who is injury-prone himself, for an area of need, which is defense. Even better than Oladipo would have been Rudy Gobert, but now he's off the market. The Frenchman is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. In his late 20s, he would have made the Nets elite at paint defense. Brooklyn's got all their first-round picks and a core of young players they could have sent in a trade. This would have guaranteed Kevin Durant another trip to the finals, but instead he extends for the Jazz for 5 more seasons. One name you noticed not on this list was James Harden. He is an all-offense, minimal defense player, and that will not help. The Nets don't need more offense. Obviously, they would take Harden if he was a free agent and they had cap space, but right now it would take a huge haul to get him. Brooklyn would need to send good young players and tons of picks. If they do that, their present and future would be screwed. Instead, they should overpay for defense if they have to. Kevin Durant deserves that 3rd ring, but he ain't gonna get it with this current Nets roster. I mean, last year, I know the Mavericks didn't have Porzingis, but they had the best offense in the league and got bounced in the 1st round. So it is up to the Nets to fix this issue and add to KD's legacy. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.